What is up, everybody, and welcome back. So today we're on day 3, last day, or last time we're going to be working on this, but today we're going to be fixing all of the quarter panel where it got worn out when the AirLift manifold dropped on me while driving. So we're going to take care of that today. It wore through all the way through like the bare metal. Showed it a couple videos back, but today we are going to take off the fender flares, both sides. This side's the worst. If you remember in that first video, a bunch of the well nuts got broken. So we're gonna have to take the flare off to replace as many well nuts got broke. I think there's like 5 if I remember correctly. And then once the fender flare is off, we're gonna go through and we're just gonna reseal the quarter panel because it wore through straight to the metal. And then on this side, I think like 3 of these well nuts got broken off too. So we're going to be pulling off both of these fender flares. I don't think this quarter panel needs to be resealed. We got the wheel and tire dismounted, so we can go ahead and break this wheel apart, and we're going to have to clean it up and reseal it. That's going to be probably my least favorite part of this whole process. This is going to be a pain in the butt. But for right now, we're just going to do like kind of like a quick and dirty seal job on this. I'm not going to make it look perfect just because I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time. This coming winter, we're going to be rewrapping the car. Well, peeling the wrap, doing a whole bunch of body work on the fender flares, fixing some cracks and all that stuff that happened from this past year. And when that's going on, and we're like getting actually dirty with fiberglass work and Bondo and sanding and painting and all that stuff, then I'll make sure and I will go through and make this quarter panel, the inside seal, look pretty again. But for right now, I just want it to be watertight and not have any bare metal exposed. So we're gonna get right into that. I'll show you everything I have that we're gonna need to do this. It's really easy. A lot of people say or think fiberglass is super hard. It's not, it's super simple. But I'll run through all the supplies you need are what I'm using today, and we'll go from there. Alright, so real quick, we'll run down this through. First things first, you need fiberglass resin. There's a little bottle of hardener that comes with this. Some sort of mixing cup, some sort of mixing stick. I'm just going to use one of these cheap foam brushes because I don't really have much here at the garage, so this is what I have. I'm going to sand it down a little bit before I fiberglass it. Wear gloves during this, rag with some alcohol to wipe it down ahead of time. I'm going to prime it before I lay the fiberglass down just so the bare metal has something covering it. And then, most importantly, the fiberglass. So, it's going to be hard to see. I'll take it out of the bag. But this is Fiberglass Mat. This is what I use to make the front bumper extensions and repair cracks on the fender flares. It's thick, but the finish on it is not like the best or the smoothest. This takes more work to smooth out and stuff. So this is good for when you're just trying to build up layers quick. And then this is fiberglass cloth. It's like a woven fabric. It's much thinner, takes longer to build up layers, but if I set you down, I'll show you the difference between them. Take them out the box, out the bags I mean. But you really shouldn't be touching this stuff without gloves on, but I'm not worried about it. So as you can see, this is like a woven fabric. It's really thin. It's pretty woven tight. It's basically like carbon fiber fabric before you put resin on it and stuff, versus this is the mat. So in case you've never seen it, this is mat. It's thicker like that. This is about how thick one piece is. So we're not going to be using this stuff today. We're going to be using the cloth just because I don't really have a use for the cloth doing any other sort of fiberglass work. The mat is what I'm going to be using over the winter to fix the cracks and stuff, so I figured I might as well use the cloth since it doesn't really have a use to me outside of this one project. So like I said, we're going to get into that. Fender flares just held on by Allen head screws and washers. So Husky ratcheting screwdriver does the trick, but I'm going to do pull this driver's side fender flare off, and we'll go from there. Alrighty, now the fender flare is off. You can see what I was talking about, where the well nuts broke. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then these two were good. The ones in the bumper were good. So they did kind of mess up the metal. It's kind of hard to see, but it must have pulled it a little bit when it before they broke. But I have a deburring tool. I'm gonna just try and go through here, make these as flat as possible. I'll give this whole inside a wipe down, and then this is the quarter panel that I was talking about, and as you can see, just we're sitting in here for like a week and a half now. It's just got a little bit of surface rust on it, so that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna sand it all down. We're going to hit the bare metal with just a little bit of primer, and then let that dry, and then we'll lay fiberglass from here to here. And like I said, we're not gonna make it look pretty today. We'll come back and make it look pretty this winter when we're redoing the car again. Alright, so now that the quarter panel is sanded down and I just wiped it down with some glass cleaner to get the dust off, I'm going to do one last wipe down of alcohol before hitting it with primer, just in case there's any grease or dirt or anything like that, oils on it for my hands. But I'm just going to take a little bit of this, get it wet, come over here. I'm just going to give it a nice little wipe down on everywhere. We think we're going to put fiberglass, which is probably going to be from right about here to here. Even though here to here is only where it's exposed, I'm just going to lay it a little bit bigger than I need to. And then we'll come back and hit it with the primer, and everything will look good again. Alrighty, so I just laid down some primer, just a couple of quick coats. It's been drying now for probably half an hour. I didn't bother filming because it was just that quick, and I was using 2 hands, so all I did was I have a mixing board that I just put here to prevent any overspray from getting on the car. But I just did like from here to here, something like that. But I just wanted to make sure this is where that bare metal was. I just want to make sure that was coated. That was like the whole reason behind actually laying down the primer. So technically speaking, I've heard that you do not have to primer or coat bare metal if you're laying it or covering it with fiberglass and resin. I don't really trust that. I don't know. That always seems like a bad idea to me. That looks like you're asking for trouble down the line. So like I said, I just took a few quick minutes to hit it with some primer just to make sure that bare metal isn't exposed to the elements, try and prevent any surface rust from happening again. I haven't had any problems laying fiberglass over primer. I don't think I've ever heard of people having problems with that. So that's why I'm doing it. So these quarter panels have been sealed like this for 5.5 years since we did the fender flares originally, and they've held up great. When I originally did it, it was primered it, so just like I did, laid some fiberglass mat down to build up the thickness, laid some fiberglass cloth down to make it a little bit smoother. Then I reinforced it with a layer of the Bondo glass, which is like the fiberglass reinforced Bondo. Because when that stuff dries, it's like rock hard. So that is the final step that we're not going to do today. So like I said, this is going to be a quick and dirty version. So I don't feel like busting out the fiberglass Bondo and getting the garage all dirty and dusty from sanding that stuff and laying it and all that stuff. So to compensate for that, that's why I'm laying that's why I'm laying down the 8 layers of the fiberglass cloth. just to compensate for not putting that final layer of Duraglass down. But this winter, when we have the car and we're sanding it and doing all the bodywork and stuff, then I'll come back and do the Fiberglass layer. But this should be more than enough to help hold up. Like I said, this has been on the car sealed like this for 5.5 years, and this is the first time we've ever worn through, and it took the car literally airing out and driving on the quarter panels to get it to this point. So I think we're pretty good. But yeah, I'm gonna let that primer dry just a little bit more, and then we'll start laying down the Fiberglass. Oh, one more thing to note, you're gonna definitely be making a mess with this, so wear gloves when you're working with the resin and the fiberglass, because especially if you're working with the fiberglass mat, the cloth is a little bit cleaner to work with, I feel like, because it's not loose strands. The fiberglass mat will get everywhere. The resin will definitely drip. Wear a shitty shirt, wear shitty shoes, wear crappy shorts. This is my I don't give a shit about clothes. So this will 100% make a mess. Don't be wearing your Yeezys or your Under Armour shirts or whatever you guys are wearing these days. Wear cheap clothes. And definitely wear gloves for this part of this. You don't want to get this stuff on your hands. If you touch your face, scratch your face, then the fiberglass gets everywhere. It gets you itchy. But like I said, I'm using cloth. It's a little bit cleaner. The mat is especially messy, but I'm going to let this primer dry a little bit longer, and then we'll get right into laying the fiberglass and yeah, finish up this process for the day. Fiberglass is all laid down, and I don't know if you could see from the time lapse, but that was a reminder of why I don't like fiberglass cloth versus fiberglass mat. So if you could see, there were like little strands hanging down. So what that is that the cloth is like fiberglass strands woven together to make a tight weave pattern in it. So when you cut it into strips, like you have to do when you put it down, the very ends like fall out and hang down, and those are a really big pain in the butt to get to stick back up with everything. Then I try to pull it down, it doesn't come down, and I don't know if that came across on the time lapse, but those are a big pain in the butt. When you're using the mat, the strands are all like kind of pressed together, and that usually doesn't happen, and if it does happen, they lay down nice and easy. So that was just a big reminder of why I prefer mat over cloth. And then if I use the mat, I probably could have done that same exact thing in probably 3, maybe 4 layers. I only laid down 6 out of the 8 layers right now, just because I was running out of the resin. So no big deal. There's more than enough layers on there, but like I said, the mat is just so much thicker than the cloth that I probably could have done that same thing in half as many layers, but no big deal. Like I said, the mat is what I'm going to be using this winter to fix the fender flares, some cracks and stuff like that in it, so I didn't want to use up that material. The cloth has just been sitting unused, so that's why I used that. But another thing to note, the foam brush really sucked to apply the resin. Usually I use a chip brush. That's what everybody recommends. Definitely use a chip brush. I don't have any here. I don't know how or why I even have those foam brushes here in the garage right now, but I did. That's what I had. That's what I used. That kind of sucked. But yeah, so because of the cloth and the foam brush, like the ends of the cloth, so that was another thing. As I was doing it, I remembered why I never used the cloth, and I'll show you right here. But as you can see, where the cloth ends, it leaves like pointed strands and stuff, and then it's even worse down here on the bottom right here, all along here. But that's the top layer that I put up top and sealed down just to make everything smooth again. But as you can see, the very tip ends right here. Just with the fiberglass cloth, those never ever stay down. So what's gonna happen is now I'm gonna have to let that dry, sand it all smooth, and then fix it. I'm actually gonna try and wait like maybe half an hour or so till the resin gets tackier. Then I'll come back with another foam brush and try and smooth it out and get it to stick up more. But if not, then I just gotta wait till that fully dries and I can sand it smooth, so there's no like sharp points to it. But now I remember why I don't use the fiberglass cloth. Fiberglass mat is super just easier to work with. But I'm gonna let this dry. I might end up letting this dry all the way till tomorrow and come back and then sand that, because I wasn't really planning on sanding the ends of the fiberglass strands like that. But like I said, fiberglass cloth versus mat, I prefer mat. I probably could have done this in less layers and it wouldn't have had the strands hanging down like it was. Just probably would have been a much smoother operation. But still, it's super easy. Probably took, I mean, maybe 8 minutes start to finish. So maybe even not. I think the time lapse is at 2 times speed and it took about 2 minutes, so call it 4 to 5 minutes to do that whole thing. I put a cloth over the spare wheel just so in case anything dripped, didn't get on the rotor or the wheel or anything like that. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna let this dry. We'll come back when it's dry and we'll see how it goes. All right, it is the next morning. We're at the garage finishing up the quarter panel. So yesterday, before I left, I ended up putting a 7th layer down. So you can see from here. But this is what I was talking about, where the ends don't like to stay down on this fiberglass cloth. So it started to have like a bunch of loose ends sticking down in the bottom here. And I ended up putting this final layer that went around and all the way down at the bottom, all the way across. So that just helped get those tucked up and they held it in place. And then these didn't stay, but this is on the outside that I'm just gonna sand that all smooth. But the resin's dried for probably 15 hours now, so it's rock hard. This is definitely not gonna get worn through. This is hard enough now where the tire's never gonna rub through that or anything. There is a couple of sharp points right in here and right back over here. We're gonna quickly sand this down. Then just hit it with one quick little coat of primer just so it's all black and it looks a little bit better than this looks right now. Like I said, this is just a quick and dirty fix. Over the winter, we will 100% make that look just as good as it did before. But this is good enough for now. No rocks or water or dirt or anything like that's going to get in the quarter panel, which is exactly what we wanted. So, like I said, I'm going to get to sanding, hit it with some primer, and we should be done with this project. Alrighty, so as you can see in that last clip, quarter panel is all sanded down, fiberglass is smooth, there's no more hard edges or sharp points or anything like that. One thing to note, you should wear a mask when you do this. I thought I had some here, and apparently I don't, and I just wasn't about to drive 45 minutes to my house to come 45 minutes back here to do this for 5 minutes. So you should wear a mask, don't be like me, be safe, you don't want to be breathing this stuff in. Another thing is, I decided that I'm not going to hit this with a primer right now. It's doing its job, it's all sealed, it's smooth. I just don't feel like having to chance it and getting overspray on the side of the car, because that would just be a nightmare, and I don't feel like doing that. Or I don't feel like masking off half the car to make sure there's no overspray on it. And I probably just shouldn't be spraying primer in this garage right now. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it there. There's no need for primer on this right now. Plus, if I don't put primer on it now, it'll be a nice reminder in the winter when I take the flares off and I go to redo it and peel the wrap off the car and all that stuff. That'll be just a nice visual reminder that I need to finish sanding this, because I was only sanding this for 5-6 minutes just now and it was starting to make a mess. So it's smooth, there's no sharp edges, no points, no nothing like that. It's not gonna like puncture the tire or anything. So this is just hidden behind the flare. Nobody will ever see this, so I'm just gonna end it here. Like I said, not chance getting overspray in the car, or not chance making a huge mess in the garage for something that I just don't really have to do, and something I have to do no matter what over the winter when we're making an actual mess, sanding and all that stuff. So I guess I'll give you a look. All right, so here is the finished thing. Like I said, all smooth. There's one sharp edge here, or one hard edge here, but yeah, other than that, all smooth on the inside, completely sealed. That'll 100% prevent any dirt, rocks, or water from getting into the quarter panel, just like we wanted. But yeah, that's all we needed, just a quick and dirty repair, just to get this thing sealed up and ready to go. I'm not gonna bore you with putting the hardware back in the car, the well nuts, and then bolting up the fender flare, because who really wants to watch that? So we're gonna end it there, but peace out, see ya.